Hi everyone, welcome to Traveling Misknits. My name is Pia and I am so happy that you're joining me here in Denmark today for a little chat about yarn and knitting. I finished my reflection shawl. Well, you probably noticed I finished her. I love her. But what I love even more than the shawl itself is the practice of knitting it. I love every single stitch from the slow, gentle beginning where progress is really slow, the rows are long, you have a lot of stitches, and you can just lean into each row, just gently moving the stitches. I love the part with the changing rhythm where the rows get shorter and shorter and you're almost out of breath when you reach the tip. You pause and it's like everything is at a standstill, and then you plunge down the diagonal all the way down to the other side of the shawl, and again you have many beautiful stitches, and the whole process is repeated, only this time, you know, it'll soon be over. Knitting the second half is kind of a bittersweet experience, especially when you are up towards the end where the stitches are so few and you're like, no, what happened to all of my stitches? And then you bind off and then you have the pride of a gorgeous shawl. Yeah, I love this practice. I also love what it does to me because it is a reflection shawl. You can choose to work on reflections, prayers, intentions as you knit on the shawl. And it's been transformative for me. I have a long background in Buddhism. I trained 12 years in a traditional Buddhist temple. I'm an ordained Buddhist minister, but still this adds to my spiritual practice in a completely different way. And I don't know if it's because the body is working with you that the reflections seem to take life in a completely different way. I can see that many of my reflections actually evolve around the same theme. It reminds me of a beautiful poem from a really old Indian monk. Shantideva was his name. He wrote this masterpiece of a poem called Bodhicharyavatara, or the Bodhisattva's way of life. And one of the points that he's making in this beautiful poem is, where would you ever find a piece of leather large enough to cover the entire earth? Really, all you need is enough leather to cover the soles of your feet. That's very much what a lot of my reflections revolve around. Focusing my energy on the things that I'm actually able to change, the things that I can control, my own mind, rather than spreading out and trying to walk through the world with my little toolbox of fix-it tools and being busy trying to fix stuff. So yeah, I am very happy with this practice for sure. I first heard about, because this, you can say, this is my take on a prayer shawl. And I first heard about the prayer shawls from the Crazy Sock Lady YouTube channel. She was working a prayer shawl and I was like, that sounds so interesting. I need to try that. I didn't get around to it right away. It took me a while to actually start a prayer shawl, but this year has been all about the prayer shawls. They have taken over my knitting life and it's been a joyful ride for sure. I started making a prayer shawl for the wonderful and amazing person that was my grandson's kindergarten teacher. Then I started working the prayer shawls, working through some of my own things and setting my intention for how I wanted to present myself in the world. And it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure for sure. Now the pattern is ready. As this video is being released, the pattern is also being released. The pattern does, and I know I've talked about this many times, but just once more, and I promise I won't mention it again. The pattern does include instructions for working the mitered square, ideas for some of the striping and the way you can place your stripes on your shawl, ideas for other sorts of embellishment like embroidery and a little rose that you can add to your shawl. And then there's a long section about mindful making or contemplative crafting, how to add that aspect to your knitting should you desire. The pattern is available on Ravelry in my own web shop, and for the first week, if you use the code Misknits, you will get a 20% discount. And now I think it's about time I show you some of the details on this version of the shawl, because this has given me some surprises along the way. When I set out to knit this, I actually imagined it being very like this one. That's a very cohesive shawl. Let me just stand up so I can show you better. This version, the first shawl that I made, is more cohesive in the sense that if you unfold it, you have these two sides that actually definitely belong to the same shawl. You have the stripy section, and then you have it reflected or mirrored over here in some embroidery. And then on the other side, you have one section where the stripes blend together, because it's the side of the garter stitch where I changed the colors. It makes it flow together more. And then there's a side that is completely without color, only the main color showing here. So 4 distinct sides to this shawl, and again, a very cohesive impression. What you see here are just the modesty clips that are holding the rose here. It's easy to remove the rose again if you want to. So what is different on this one is that I started by making this half, and I drew inspiration from a peony in our garden, and it is definitely peony colors, and I thought I'm gonna do the same. I am gonna mirror it on the other half with some embroidery. But what happened was I made a completely different other side. I did maintain the same stripe sequence, but the colors are so different that they're almost 2 different shawls. They doesn't necessarily seem like the same shawl here. This side is inspired by our destination for this year's vacation. We're going to Bornholm, which is a beautiful little island in Denmark. The smokehouses are all black and white. There are long sandy beaches, and rosehip is everywhere. So very, very different. I will also say the back side is also different, because I did choose to knit over my ends rather than weave in every end. And that does make it's not as neat. I don't know that I would wear it with this side out. It isn't as neat when I knit over my ends. I'm not able to execute it in a way that makes it as neat as if I weave it in. But it's okay, because I like the two sides that I actually have. Okay, other things that I have been knitting on. There are two, but I can only show you one. I have been knitting on the unicorn sweater for little Victor. I almost finished the body. I'm in the process of binding it off. But yeah, it's a joy. I'm just knitting and knitting and knitting, and I'm really looking forward to starting the unicorn. I am going to duplicate stitch a unicorn here on the front. And I've been thinking a lot about what a unicorn looks like, because I've never seen one, which is not fair, but that's my life. I've never seen a unicorn. I have to guess. And I think I'm going to draw my inspiration from the slow unicorn. I'm going to put a picture here. I have knit quite a few of those, both for grandchildren and also for myself, because I think they're so cute. I am going to link the pattern in the description box below, because they're just so darn cute. But I'm going to draw my inspiration from that slow unicorn and make it my own here on the front of this sweater. My grandson picked the yarn himself, and here we have the yarns that he picked for the unicorn. He wanted the unicorn to be pink and purple. See, I'm dying to also add some of this minty green, but I don't know if I should, because he didn't pick the minty green. That was just me. I'll figure that out as I go. But yeah, I'm really excited to start adding the unicorn. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start on it today, because of course there's still knitting to be done, but stitching is fun too. When I have to place a motif on a sweater like that, what I usually do is I use Excel, because in Excel you can shape the squares so that they have the same size as your gauge. Because if you just use a completely squared piece of paper, then your motif is going to look all squished together once you transfer it into your knitting, because knitting stitches are not perfect squares. You have fewer stitches per 10 centimeter horizontally than you have stitches vertically. So you have to take that into consideration when you are drawing a motif. And I can't do that in my brain as I work, so I prefer to just create a sheet that has the proper proportions for my gauge, and then I can just go ahead and plug in everything, and then I can start duplicate stitching. That's gonna be a lot of fun. I am using the pattern for my family sweater. That's the pattern that I use every time I need just a basic raglan for either grown-ups or kids. I am, of course, on the family sweater, you have these lines of Latvian braids going over the yoke. I am omitting those because we need a unicorn here, not a braid. But other than that, I am following the pattern for the family sweater. And I am using Drops Air, both for the sweater itself and for the duplicate stitching. I like this yarn for little ones. It's going to be nice, and it's going to keep him warm and cozy once he starts wearing it. The other thing that I've been knitting on, I'm not really ready to show you yet because it is the very first stages of my cat number 8 design. We have the fall knitathon coming up. It is going to be on October 4, going into October 5. And as per usual, I am going to create a new design for the occasion. I do hope to be able to do, as I've done a couple of times now, release the pattern ahead of the knitathon so that we can knit it together for those glorious 24 hours. And let me just say, if you are new to the channel, maybe you don't know what the knitathon is. It is a very informal, very, very fun event where we all knit together while being apart. There's going to be YouTubers going online almost every hour around these 24 hours around the clock. If you have a YouTube channel and you want to contribute some entertainment for the occasion, please let me know. My email is in the description box below. It would be lovely to have you join. It is really a lot of fun. And if you want to know more about the Knitathon, you can go to my website, which is also linked in the description box below. On the front page, there's all about the Knitathon. But the design. A Danish yarn store kindly sponsored the yarn for the new design. They're one of the sponsors of the Knitathon. There's also going to be some discount codes available for all of the viewers if they want to knit the cat number 8. But I chose this yarn. It's a new to me yarn, but it feels wonderful. It's 100% wool. It's not merino. It's a little more, it's a little more toothy than a merino. It's going to carry itself beautifully. It's not super washed, so it's going to be so easy to knit with. It is a worsted weight. Yeah, and I just love the color. Oh my God, the color. I am so into all of the colors right now. But yeah, I have started working on the design. It's going to be gorgeous, but I'm not ready to show it just yet. Maybe in a week or two. I don't know. We shall see. But at some point, of course, I'm going to be showing it. For my knitting tip this week, I'm actually going to do a crochet tip. And I know that a lot of you will already know this tip, but I guess that's the nature of sharing tips and tricks. There's going to be a lot of people who already know. But I was sitting with my granddaughter. We were doing a movie marathon. We do those from time to time, and she has amazing stamina, I will tell you. But she asked me, oh, do you have some yarn so that I could crochet? She taught herself how to crochet. So we, of course, went up into my studio. I chose some nice superwash merino because I think it's important when people are learning to crochet that they have a nice yarn. I'm not talking about getting them spin cycle or whatever, just a good yarn, not an acrylic, because acrylic is so unforgiving. When they get a superwash merino, it's very, very forgiving. You can block your way out of almost anything. So I collected a handful of colors and balls for her. And then she asked me to teach her the granny stitch because she had seen it, but she didn't know how to do it. And she loved the expression. She loved the color changes. And so I taught her how to do a granny square. And initially she was like, I'm going to make this bag. And I was, yeah, that's going to be really easy. I'll help you seam it and you can do it, for sure you can. But then as she was crocheting round after round, she was, no, I want to do a blanket. I want to just keep going and going and going until I have a blanket. I was happy. Of course I was. I was so excited. But when she said that she wanted to keep going and going around, I told her, when you do that, you need to change direction for every round. So you work one round from the front side, then you turn your work and work the next round the other way around from the back side, so to speak. There's not going to be a front and a back when you do it like that. But if you don't do it, it's going to be crooked. It's going to be leaning to one side. But if you change the direction for every round, it's going to be a nice square, no matter how big it gets. I'm sure most of you know that, but if there's just one person out there who didn't know that, it's totally worth it. The last thing that I have for you today is a giveaway winner. Last episode, I talked about my Christmas in July giveaway. So many people celebrate the Christmas in July by knitting Christmas socks or whatever. I would love to participate, but it's not happening. My contribution to Christmas in July is this Christmas in July giveaway. A beautiful project bag from Knitwear by Maki, who is a longtime sponsor for the Knitathons, by the way. This is not a Christmas bag. It's just one of her beautiful, beautiful bags. But in there, I have put a skein of my own hand-dyed yarn. I dyed this years and years ago. And a little pom-pom, because I thought this would make a perfect hat. And hats are perfect for Christmas gifts. So if you wanna get a jump start at your Christmas knitting, well, cross your fingers. I have drawn a winner and I'm gonna put you up here. If this is you, please get in touch. Again, my email address is in the description box below. I am waiting to hear from you. If you can't find my email address or whatever, feel free to reach out on Instagram as well. That is totally okay. I'm just excited to be able to send you your present. That was it for this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It means the world. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Maybe even send me a message in the comment section below. If you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe so you will get notifications whenever I upload new content. I will see you again in about a week. Until then, stay happy, stay safe, and keep knitting.